your arm path, obviously, like you're a little bit longer limbed than probably everyone else in the world. So like you need like more time. You need your arm
Yeah,
needs more time to catch up. So like just being able to think like energy staying back for a longer duration of time gives your arm that ability to sync up with what your legs are trying to do.
yeah, exactly. I think too, it sounds so easy when you say like, when people are like, you just got to stay back longer. But I think you and me know, most pitchers know like staying back is one of the hardest things in the middle of a game. To stay back
Yeah,
is extremely difficult. So like,
especially in the big leagues.
oh God, yeah. When you're amped up, when you're like a new big leaguer too, like the more amped up and excited you are,
I
the
couldn't even
more you.
imagine. Yeah.
So it's yeah, you could. You play baseball, you get it.
Baseball. So, dude, so you throw. I'm going to go off of your 2018 statistics. They're not split up between starting, relieving Pittsburgh, Tampa. But what we got is you're throwing your four seamer at a 70.5% clip. So I'm assuming that's maybe skewed to a lot of your bullpen stuff, right?
Yeah, it was more so. I think I still was pretty fastball heavy. I didn't throw a lot of changeups either, but I know next year I'll throw a bunch more changes. But when I went to a starter, I was definitely a lot more slider, changeup, but mostly it was mostly slider, fastball. But yeah, definitely a lot of those probably came
So
from
you
like the
said
set.
you did like a lot of work on the Rapsodo. So I got your four seam coming in at 2365 RPM at 96 and a half miles per hour. That's probably skewed to bullpen too, right? Or what was your velo like as a starter? I should know this too, but did
It
you
was actually
hold it pretty well?
yeah, it was usually around like so. It was. I mean, that's when I was trying to get like all that hip stuff right too. So like most games, it was usually around 95, 99. It was mostly like 96.5, and then some games. I had one game I was like 94, 97. You know how it is as a starter. It's up and down, but
Yeah.
it was mostly I would say I'd average about like 96, 97.
Is that fun to say? Is it fun to say like
Sure, yeah, it's fun. I guess I don't know.
it's okay. Hey, go back to that grip, man, because there's something like really intriguing with me in that thumb placement. Are you conscious of like where your thumb is, and have you played around with like tucking it or anything like
I
that?
have, I have, especially too when I was throwing a two seam. I would like to get my thumb like more under, but I have a bad two seam, so don't listen to me. But I'm more of like that was especially when I wasn't feeling right. I would always try to play with my thumb placement, and then I got to a point where I was like, yo, if I'm thinking about where my thumb is, like I'm not in a good spot. So I just was like, whatever, grab the ball, throw it heater, like. So
Yeah.
my thumb's like right here. It's usually right the middle. I kind of have a little triangle Johnson going.
Triangle
I just
Johnson.
I just try to stay behind as long as I can, and I just try to flick it off my fingers.
So
Just
your
spin it as
your
hard.
your four seam's not cutting anymore, huh?
Every now and again it'll cut, like, but not as much as it used to.
Yeah.
So, yeah, no, not really.
Have you looked at like that particular side of Rapsodo where it shows the
Yeah,
trajectory?
just in Bolton now, and Kyle is huge. He's such a smart pitching coach, and he brought it over. We went to UT and through, and so I got to see all that stuff too, all like my spin rate and stuff. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of that thing, man.
That's
That's a
so
really
cool.
cool little piece of machinery.
It
Yeah,
shows you like a time that
yeah.
the ball is like spinning on.
And yeah, it shows you the access, it shows you the spin rate, it shows you like the total, it shows you everything, like everything you need to know,
I
like
didn't
where you have it in your hand, you're tunneling. It's cool.
I didn't look at I don't know if Baseball Savant does it, but like do you know your spin axis?
I don't know, like not off the top of my head of like I don't even know how to like answer that question. I know for me, like I have a very like, especially as of recent, like it's a more like it's a ride fast. So I'm definitely like more up down 12-6 when I'm in the right position. So I'm not like I used to be, especially in high when we played together. It was much more across because I
Yeah.
would get on the side of everything. But now I'm kind of like where you, where my hips are down, so everything is coming at the same plane. And as before, we were always told like a flat fastball was bad, and I always assumed like having a straight fastball was a flat fastball,
That's
so it was like
totally
not a
true.
hit. And so I mean that was like that's been like debunked too. So I was like, oh okay, it's another thing I screwed up. So I gotta like so now I'm really just focused on like keeping it like linear, so I can like keep it like play off my tunneling, and
That's
that's really
yeah.
what helped me the most when I went to the Rays.
That's so true though. Like, cause it was, I just remember too when I was in that year where it was like, okay, if I throw a fastball that doesn't like drop, then
Yeah,
I'm gonna suck.
to get harder. And I do. It's funny too because the Razors are so big into like that analytics stuff now. And there's some dudes in AAA and like some guys that got called up that are like 88, 91 that have like a 15 per nine strikeout just because they spin the ball well and they play up down. And that's such like a different look now in baseball to where like if you have good spin and you don't throw hard, it's like it's plays like 100-mile-per-hour fastball. So like it's kind of cool.
I mean, that's where the game is, dude. Is like the 12-6, and where we talked about on the podcast is like when we first met each other, it was like sinking it and sliding it, and then you fast forward like 5 years, 6 years later, and it's like rising it and dropping it.
Yeah, dude, it's so weird how every team just kind of like jumps on it. Like one team does it, and that's like, well, that works. Now 30 teams do it, and I don't know, who knows in 10 years what's going to happen? Maybe people are going to start doing like diag this way, or like I don't know.
That is something that I want to talk to you about, though, with the four-seam fastball. Like I seen a couple of your outings where like the catcher is actually calling for like a belt high, maybe belly button high fastball. Is that something that you incorporated when you went to the Rays as far as like pitching up in the zone?
Yeah, absolutely. I think for me too, just being a tall, limbed dude, like it was. I remember like with the Pirates too, it was always like low and away, low and away, low and away. And the days that I wasn't perfectly synced up, I couldn't get low and away, and that's when I'd start cutting it because I couldn't get that extension, and I would start coming off of it. And so it was a lot easier for me to like ride it up in the zone. So we started to work on it in bullpens, and my swing and miss rates were like 10 times higher up in the zone because I can spin the ball a lot higher or harder up in the zone. So we started to just kind of fiddle around with that. And so it's been mostly fastballs up, sliders down, or curveballs. Not really a slider. But
it goes back to like what we talked about earlier, man. Like play to your strengths. Like
exactly.
when you were with Pittsburgh, like you probably never even knew that was like a strength of yours because they were so, again, like no disrespectful, but like they were so gung-ho about the bottom of the zone. Like remember when we started out like lower levels, like it was a mandatory 0-0, four-seamer down.
Yeah. Have any numbers to go off too, and they were just going off of like what they did in the big leagues that made them successful, and it was always throwing in and throwing sinkers. So like they had a couple years where that worked, so they were like, all right, this is what guys who were on the fence and like don't know what to do with their fastball, we might as well just make them a sinker ball guy. And so it makes sense when you think about it. But I think even the Pirates now are changing up what they do. Like they were big with me, especially before I left. Like we started to realize like up in the zone played a lot better, so we started to kind of adjust to that more so.
Yeah, once it becomes like once people get aware of like where the game's heading, they're like, oh, we'll incorporate too.
Exactly. Like, sorry, dear.